like-minded people like you and me.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Welcome home, LA. We're all in this together.
Let's get it on.
It's KBLA Talk 1580, broadcasting from the heart of LA's Leimert Park. We've got a lot to talk about.
We are going to have to fight. We're going to have to struggle. We're going to have to struggle relentlessly to bring about some peace.
First things first.
Things first, it's the DU General, Money B. I'ma put you up on the schedule, 6 to 9, 8 weekdays, not too serious. We got a lot to talk about, so much to pedal through. Unapologetically progressive. Tune to KBLA 1580 to get the mess. We're your ancestors' favorite radio station. First black on talk radio, left side of the nation. Me and Dominique DiPrima go way back. Tag Smiley making sure the station stays black. Discussing all the issues in our community. We're hosted black and brown and others find unity. So let's talk about it. Maybe we can improve it. Digital underground, always down with the movement. So we tune in. The first things first with the queen of Black Talk Radio, Dominique DiPrima. Go sis. Go sis. Go sis.
First things first.
KBLA Talk 1580. Good morning and God bless. Woohoo! Happy Thursday. I'm Dominique DiPrima. The show is First Things First. My first thing every single day, giving thanks, giving praise, asking for blessings from God, asking for the blessings of the ancestors and the elders, and getting into all the things we got to get into today. Hour 1, we do the left coast. Hour 2, we go national, international, and, galaxies beyond. And hour 3, we do a deep dive with a person or persons of interest. Today it is Dr. Gerald Horne, one of our most renowned scholars, loving the notion of hearing what he has to say about a summary of 2023, 2022, and a look ahead at 2023. Joining me right this very moment, live on YouTube and terrestrial radio and the KBLA 1580 app, is the director of Live Free California. He is Tim Kornegay. That was really a weak introduction, but I feel like you're almost like a regular correspondent now, so they should know who you are. Good morning.
Okay. Good morning, Dominique.
Or do you want me to go back and read the bio?
You don't have to read that.
We can do that.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Always an honor and a pleasure to come hang out with you and talk to you and give the listeners something to talk about, think about.
Yes, indeed. And, it was kind of a weak intro, but still kind of on that MLK Day of Peace vibe. And you yourself are from the community. You've got long roots in South LA.
Yeah.
And you've spent some time incarcerated, and you have spent some time working towards peace. Talk to me about how you see the state of the peace in LA, in California.
Well, I think your mention of the MLK vibe is something that we should walk around with consistently. Not only was he a leader for social justice, he also was a leader for human rights. And as he grew in his expression of the empowerment of black folks, he also delivered the understanding that as people in this country, our human rights are critically important. That it's not just about being black, it's about being part of the human community. It's about looking at the individual next to you, left and right, and wondering who you need to be in order to love them in the manner that keeps them healthy and happy.
So, how are we doing on peace? I mean, we talked a lot last year about the scare tactics being used around the rise in certain types of violence. Now here we are in a new year in LA, in which last year homicides are down over the prior. Now this is still up from pre-pandemic levels, but it seems like the trend line is going in the right direction, and you don't hear the media doing a happy dance the way they were doing the death dance before. So I'm wondering, from your view as a community activist, as a the head of a CBO, how do you see the state of the streets, the state of our community?
Well, I don't think that we need to depend on the media to do a happy dance for our accomplishment. It's up to us. It's up to us to uplift the fact that the violence rate is down, and it's really up to us to have the understanding that peace is, it's not a destination, it's a journey.
Right?
It's the ingredients that you implement on the road to peace. It's the communication. It's the nonviolent. It's the non-aggressive interaction. It's looking at the individual across you, as I was saying, and wondering what are their needs and how are they feeling, and taking that moment in between the space where your lived experience kicked in and your biases kick in and your brain starts to tell you what the person you're looking at is and what they're thinking without being informed by communicating with them. And a lot of us realize we see folks with these, and I'm guilty of that sometimes, with these concrete looks, and they just look mean. And then you speak to them, and then you see this beautiful smile just pop up, and you wonder, like, wow, I just made this judgment call in my head that this person was mean, to find out that this was an actual person.
Yeah, I mean, I do that with members of my own family. Like, I see him frown up. I'm like,
Yeah.
he's judging me. She hates me, you know, and they're actually my relative. And then
Yeah.
it doesn't always turn out to be that way if you actually ask or open the lines of communication. And I'm, you know, I'm famous for that because my job is to talk to anybody and everybody, which I love. I love talking to all different people. And I've found so many times you could see a man or woman in an environment which would predispose you to stereotype their attitude or who they are. And then when you talk to them, especially if you just break out a big, genuine smile and be like, hey,
Yeah.
hi, how are you? And see that person, really see them. Most people like that.
Yeah.
Most people respond favorably to being seen and being shown the respect of one human being to another.
So I guess the question to be asked, are folks unapproachable, or sometimes we afraid to approach people?
Yeah, that is a good question. It's almost like fear-based social interaction.
Yeah, exactly.
It's funny you say that because after yesterday's show, we had Tico Wells, actor, and my friend Abid was here. Thanks, Abid. Anyway, we were talking about this idea of nonviolent communication, and you brought it up. So what do you mean when you say that?
Well, to me, nonviolent, non-confrontational communication is communicating with someone with a fresh start, like not with the judgment in your mind that they're a particular kind of person. So if I introduce myself and I ask you this phrase that's so responsible for getting so many black and brown men and women harmed, where you from, it should be an invitation to a relationship, not an invitation to confrontation.
Right.
And that happens a lot. So we just really have to work on, like, the lived experience we walk around with. It's not like wanting to harm somebody. It's inviting somebody into, like, your circle of concern, your circle of compassion, your circle of relationship, and that's where, like, the nonviolent communication comes in, and to remove this thing we walk around with culturally that I wish somebody would, et cetera,
The
et cetera.
F around and find out attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to start. I mean, I was smiling because I was thinking about the anti-domestic violence activist that was at whatever, at the palace over there in the United Kingdom, black woman,
Uh-huh.
and she had some royal lady, some lady in waiting, go to her, where what do you do? Basically, what do you do? Where are you from? What are you doing here? I mean, she was royally gangbanging on this lady,
Yeah.
and and made the person feel very uncomfortable. Well, where are you really from? You're black. You can't be British. Where are you really from? Are you from the Caribbean? Are you from the UK? So, I mean, we think about that in terms of the streets, but that kind of hostile, confrontational, where are you from, apparently also goes all the way up to, or all the way down to the palaces of the colonizers.
Yeah. Well, I actually saw that online, and I think that in a situation like that, that would be very uncomfortable. But that was coming from a place from that woman of privilege,
Right.
feeling like she had the right, and it was very, very confrontational.
Yes. So I guess you're making the distinction. Sometimes we're coming from a place of powerlessness,
Yeah.
or disempowerment, or at least defensiveness when we ask or someone that kind of, whether it's literally those words or that kind of confrontational communication.
Yeah.
Where you been? Where you from? What you doing? What do
Yeah.
you mean? Why you
Yeah.
looking at me like that?
Yeah.
Those questions.
Yeah. Well, and there's in every situation there's a power dynamic.
Yeah.
There's this thing that we have socially constructed. You have very powerful people, and then you have people who have privilege that benefit from folks
Right.
with the power. Then you have those who are persecuted by the two above mentioned, and then you have those who are prevented. And in every situation we're in, we could find ourselves in a power position. We could find ourselves in a position of privilege. We could find ourselves in a position of being persecuted, but we could find ourselves in those minority groups, not necessarily because of color, but because of our social status. And we can be prevented from doing certain things, and we just have to be aware of which role are we playing today.
Yeah, or even minute to minute.
Yeah.
Tim Kornegay is here, and you are always invited into the conversation. I promise not to ask you, where you from? Why are you looking at me like, why are you talking to me like that? Well, I probably won't. 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. This is KBLA Talk 1580. We're unapologetically progressive.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Central Neighborhood Health Foundation is a full-service network of federally qualified health care centers that serves local communities throughout Los Angeles, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties. CNHF clinics provide low-cost to no-cost, compassionate, comprehensive, quality health care, which includes primary care services for chronic disease and diabetes management, pediatric and women's services, preventive care, vision and dental screenings, COVID-19 testing and vaccines, flu vaccines, behavioral health, HIV, and substance use services. Virtual telehealth visits are available from the comfort of your home with highly qualified physicians and medical professionals. CNHF also provides peer support specialist training and help with housing navigation. Central Neighborhood Health Foundation. Your wellness is our priority. Comprehensive care built on trust and respect. For more information, visit cnhfclinics.org or call 213-536-5815 today to locate a clinic near you.
Bonus days are back for pros at Lowe's. You earn points and save when you buy the top pro brands you trust, like DeWalt. Right now, you can save $100 on the powerful DeWalt 8¼ carbide tipped portable table saw. Was $3.99, now just $2.99. Join today and shop bonus days, only at Lowe's. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Valid through 1/20. Subject to change while supplies last. Visit Lowes.com/MVP's bonus points for details.
It's game day at Jim's house, and the spread is impressive.
Mike's already done some damage with the hot wings, and now he's dropping back and going deep for another slice of pizza.
I sure hope he brought the Pepto.
Mike knows the Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief from unexpected stomach upsets. He's no rookie.
The way he's throwing back those nachos, he's the GOAT.
Be ready for game day with Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
KBLA Talk 1580 is growing at a phenomenal pace, and we need to enlarge our territory. We are seeking smart, creative solution providers to join the KBLA delegation and go higher with us. If you or someone you know is interested in joining our team as a brand manager, go to our website at KBLA1580.com. Tap on employment opportunities and let us hear from you. We're not looking for everybody or just anybody, but you could be that special somebody. Come grow with us. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Your ancestors' favorite radio station, and your favorite morning show host. Let's get back to Dominique DiPrima right now.
Right now, and we do, I mean, there is so much stuff going on here locally. I want to touch on some of it. Before we get into that, though, Tim Kornegay, I want to talk about a little bit, following our thread here about how to communicate, how to be non-confrontational, non-violent, how to improve our own outlook and be less fear-based overall. And you guys actually have some work that's somewhat in Live Free California that somewhat follows that line of thought.
Yeah, one of our initiatives that we work a lot on inside the organization, we call it fostering belonging. And that's the belief in everybody has a right to live in a world that feels safe. That safety should not be a luxury for black people. It should be inherent. We should all be able to walk around and feel safe. And the mechanics of doing that is really getting inside folks' head and letting folks know, like, look, we're all walking around with our lived experience. Even though we think we have a degree of control over the way we act, there are things that we've done, there are experience that we've had on our life journey that imports and impacts the way we feel, the way we think, the way we're triggered by the things that we encounter, and they're built in. And you have to be aware of that in the interactions with folks, so those triggers don't kick in and cause you to be a person that you don't want to be.
Right, and sometimes the stuff you're saying, it reminds me of Jim Brown's American program a little bit, because he talks about childhood conditioning and some of the work that Second Call does, which is based on that, and some of the other organizations. It's in. He always says, or they always say, to use I rather than you or one, so for me, that means I can be going off and not even understand what I am really responding to. It might not even be something in that moment. It might be something I experienced, what you're calling lived experience.
Yeah. And just to be aware of, not only is it your external environment that fuels who you are and the way you behave, it's your internal environment. It's that internal dialogue when you communicate with yourself, and to be aware of the conversations you've had with you or that I've had with me using I statements throughout my life that colored the way I behave, that colored the way I think. Now, in one of the components of what we do, we call them learning labs. And what a learning lab is, we take groups of people to Alabama and walk them through a civil rights journey and the experience from the historical sites where the Alabama element of the civil rights movement has its origin. We take them to the Civil Rights Museum. We take them to Kelly Ingram Park. We take them to 16th Street Baptist Church with the narrative of the things that took place in the 60s, with an understanding that, and a lot of us, at least I didn't know, and I thought I knew some things, that some of those folks who were getting hosed down and bitten by dogs that were confronted by Bull Connor at Kelly Ingram Park, those were children. Those were kids. Those were folks out of the community, and the imagery we get in the narrative is like that those were folks from the congregation. But the thing was, the congregation came outside and the community stepped up and said that we have this coming. So there's an explanation of that. We go to Dexter Street Baptist Church, where King started his ministry, fresh from seminary, which is in proximity to what was the Confederate White House. which is down the street from where Rosa Parks said, I'm not going to the back of the bus, which is across the street from Market Street Fountain, which in actuality is a place where there was a podium once where they used to sell black folks. And just the story that goes with that and the proximity of these events gives you a picture in your mind of the journey that black people have went on in this country. And the things that we were able to do, the way that the clergy and the community was able to communicate and unite and bring a real system for us to step into and create change to make it where we can do what we do right now is because what they did then. And some of those days were children. So the youth have a place in the movement, and they need to be reminded that they were very impactful in the journey that black folks have been on in this country.
So those learning labs, it sounds like really you're bringing people in a visceral way into our history, and explain how you see that impacting folks in today when they have that experience.
Well, for me in the Equity and Justice Institute, Brian Stevenson's museum, just the visual artistry associated from the journey from slavery to the mass incarceration that takes place nowadays is so impactful, like in your soul, just to see and have an understanding of what we endured in order to be in this country. The journey that we went on, the torturous journey, the oppressive journey that we've been on to survive it now and have an understanding how black folks were harmed by the oppressor. Anybody that experienced that in their soul should start to think, if I've ever thought about hurting another black person, I'll never think like that again, because I see what this has done to us. I see where it comes from. I see that I am emulating and acting in a manner of an oppressor that I've been trying to get away from historically and generationally.
We got about a minute here before news and traffic and sports, and we'll continue on the other side. We're talking about, non-confrontational or non-violent communication, and this idea that everybody does have a right to feel safe, including black people.
Yeah.
There's several incidents that, like always, that challenge that. I think the repeated tasing of 31-year-old teacher Keenan Anderson is one of those. Clearly, he did not feel safe, right? And that is what we would call a reasonable fear. I would. He's being confronted by LAPD officers. And then we look at, on the other side of that coin, or maybe it's the same side of the coin, law enforcement and the way they talk to people. It's who's more aggressive in their communication, gang members or police officers? I'm going to say police officers. Most of the time, when you listen to these body cam tapes, there's a lot of cussing, there's disrespect, belittling, humiliation, intimidation, threatening. I don't hear de-escalation. What will it take to get to nonviolent communication between the community and law enforcement? Let's talk about that when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Will the United States reach its debt ceiling today? That's the limit of money the government is allowed to borrow to meet its financial obligations. The debt ceiling currently stands at over $31 trillion, and Congress is considering raising that limit to keep the United States from defaulting on its debt. A statue of the Twitter bird from the company's San Francisco headquarters has been sold at auction. Trey Thomas has the details.
The 4-foot blue statue of the iconic bird sold for $100,000 at a Twitter auction that ended on Wednesday. The statue was one of hundreds of items from Twitter headquarters sold by Global Heritage Partners after new owner Elon Musk decided to cut costs at the social media company. I'm Trey Thomas.
That's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Save big store-wide at the Truckload event at Lowe's, happening now. For a limited time, get up to 50% off select tools and accessories. Shop the event in-store or online today. Valid 12/29 through 1/25 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for details.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers lose by 5 at home to Sacramento, 32 points for LeBron. Sacramento might be the NBA's most improved team. Their 25-18 record is fourth best in the Western Conference. Bad news for the Clippers as well. They fell below 500 for the second time this season after a 23-point loss at Utah. The Clippers are 2-9 in their last 11 games. The Rams fired 6 assistant coaches yesterday. Defensive coordinator Raheem Morris is still with the Rams. Morris has been interviewing for several head coaching jobs. Houston, Arizona, Indianapolis, Charlotte, and Denver are all looking for a new head coach. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by MVP Accident Attorneys. When it comes to your settlement, we're a slam dunk. Call 833-MVP-WINS or check their website at themvp.com for a free case review.
When you're the victim of a car accident, hiring the right law firm can be the difference between a rewarding settlement and striking out. Call the pros at MVP Accident Attorneys at 833-MVP-WINS for your free consultation.
Call on me, your MVP.
Hi, I'm Dominique DiPrima. You may think it's too early, but tax season is now. Whether you're filing individual or business taxes, there are benefits to filing your taxes. You can qualify for loans and grants, improve your credit profile, and get into compliance with the IRS. Who files early gets refunded early, and there are lots of legit ways to boost your tax refund in 2023. The tax professionals at Wealth Management Financial Advisors will find every credit and deduction you deserve so you get your largest possible refund. I'm not kidding. You could double your refund just by filing at Wealth Management Financial Advisors. Big chain tax filing companies use a one-size-fits-all formula that leaves money on the table. Don't wait until recession or procrastination take a bite out of your budget. Book an appointment now at wealthmanagementlb.com or by calling 562-427-8877. That's 562-427-8877. Visit wealthmanagementlb.com.
The movie moved you, but the stage play will blow you away.
Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am.
It's Jacarius Johnson's New Jack City, live on stage. Nino Brown.
Times like these, people want to get high and real fast.
G-Money.
They be going crazy over this, man.
They were at the top of their game.
You was living for the money.
But when loyalty and trust takes a hit,
You act like I owe you something. Dude, I don't owe you jack.
so does survival.
CMB, man, we all we got. Go $5 ass down before I make change.
New Jack City.
Rock a bomb, baby.
It's Jacarius Johnson's New Jack City, live on stage, starring Big Daddy Kane, Stretch from Naughty by Nature, Flex Alexander, the original G-Money, Alan Payne, and Gary Dordan. January 20th through 22nd at the Orpheum Theater. Tickets at Ticketmaster and Jacarius.com.
Full of money. It's crazy calling me, man. They calling me, man.
A Jacarius Entertainment production.
Kick off the new year and celebrate women in business. This is Asha, and I am hosting a panel discussion with some of your favorite business owners and professionals. We are covering topics from work-life balance to our thoughts on the modern woman. Join us as we talk, dance, shop, and celebrate. Access passes are on Eventbrite under Project Red Women in Business Summit. Special thanks to our event sponsor, Sheldon Stokes State Farm in Carson. And visit our website, teamstokesinsurance.com.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, indeed, I do thank you. I'm over here looking for a video to show Tim Kornegay, the director of Live Free California, who's in the studio with me this morning, and you can see him, me, us, everything on YouTube, youtube.com, and then you type in KBLA 1580. And you can follow us on all the socials, KBLA 1580 on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and yes, YouTube. Please subscribe, like, follow. I'm at DiPrima Radio, DiPrima, and then radio. And I would love it if you would follow me and even subscribe to my YouTube channel. And Tim, how do they keep up with you on socials?
Online, Empower Initiatives, one word, .org. www.fosteringbelonging, also one word, .org, livefreeca.org, and livefreeusa.org.
Man, you got a lot of .orgs. Got a lot going on. So yeah, we were talking about this idea of nonviolent communication or non-confrontational interaction, and the latest example, horrifying example, is LAPD tasing 31-year-old teacher Keenan Anderson 6 times in 42 seconds. He dies shortly thereafter of a heart attack. Supposedly, now that's what the chief of police said at first. Then they said they don't know the cause of death. They hurried up, did their own toxicology report so they could try to make it seem like it wasn't their fault. But the bottom line here, it's the same thing we've seen on so many tapes, is the way people are talked to by law enforcement. That kind of disrespect and aggression does not seem to be what I would call de-escalation.
Yeah, well, I mean, the law enforcement is not really trained in de-escalation. What they're trained to do, but what they're claimed to do is exert authority and to be confrontational and to try to immediately take control of the situation. And the cause of this individual's untimely, undeserved, and tragic death is he encountered the police. That's his cause of death. If he had not been pulled over, if he had not been accosted by law enforcement, he would not be deceased. So that's the cause of death. The challenge for all of us is to understand that the highest courts in the land have given these people who put on these uniforms the authority to do that, determining that no court can get inside an officer's head at the point when they're executing their duty, and that's unfair. And the decision basically gives law enforcement, if they feel fear, the right under the color of law to kill someone. And that's wrong, and that's what people should deal with, addressing the constitutionality that allows law enforcement to get away with this diabolical behavior.
I guess, I mean, I can't disagree with one single thing you said, but what I'm thinking about here is the word authority, right? Because when you want to get someone to comply, whether it's your kid, a so-called suspect, a regular citizen who's experiencing trauma, which is what we've seen with the first 3 killings of the year by the LAPD, regular citizens experiencing trauma. There's a lot of different ways to assert authority, right? All of them do not include yelling, cussing. I mean, I just think if parents talk to their kids the way cops talk to citizens, people would call child services.
It's the culture. It's a cultural behavior that tells them to take immediate control over the situation, no matter what level of activity they think that they're addressing, whether it's jaywalking, whether it's a grand theft, whether it's a robbery.
Like Mike Brown. I mean, that's why he died. He was jaywalking.
I mean, it's just how they're taught to be, and they're trained across the country in the same manner, so they behave the same way in the same manner.
But they don't act like that in Bel Air. They don't act like that in Bel Air most of the time.
All right.
They don't act like that on the upper west side of New York.
They don't act like that in Bel Air towards individuals who 9 times out of 10 look like them, towards the population that lives in Bel Air that doesn't have melanated skin color.
Right. If you're, of course, if you're black and unhoused
black in Bel Air, you might have a different experience.
That is very true. But I guess, and now, and the look like them thing doesn't always check too, because black cops kill black people at higher rates than white cops do.
It's the uniform. It's the culture of policing.
And clearly we have an issue with Latino or Latine cops in L.A. killing black people and also their own.
Yeah. Once you adorn that uniform and take on the cultural psychology and behavior, then you become that person. You become that tragedy.
What I'm trying to get to is, it's, can you establish authority without confrontational, aggressive, demeaning, humiliating interaction, communication?
Of course, absolutely. If you're not trained in the manner to get in front of an individual who may take control of the situation and trigger your fears.
Right. Their lived experience.
Exactly.
Because I remember my bonus daughter, when she was young, she used to tell me that her dad practiced terrorist parenting because he could just give her one look and she would, there were no words. It was just a look. And a lot of people call that the mom death stare or whatever. Doesn't involve any words, but often results in immediate compliance.
Yeah.
How do you teach that? Really, we had an interesting conversation yesterday about how, how do we respect each other as human beings? And Kwamel brought up the idea of this, sheriff's deputy who was killed, Sheriff Darnell Calhoun, and how, we should feel for him just like we would feel for anyone else who died. How do you break through that? At the same time, he also brought up the fact that many times these funerals for law enforcement turn into like de facto KKK rallies with all the...
So is this the sheriff deputy that was killed in Riverside?
Yeah.
Well, I think something that's really lost in that conversation is the individual responsible, which they are talking about but not really talking about. But there is no black or brown person that would ever be released after getting found guilty of charges and facing 3 strikes. It just doesn't happen. So when you have a person that has nothing to lose, when you go back to court, you're going to get a life sentence. But this person was neither black or brown. So in the exposition of the narrative, they make it seem like these people, like, we can't let individuals out because this would happen. This person should have been in jail. What's the possibility that person should have been in jail, but that person was incorporated with a privilege that other people don't have, and the privilege came with the reflection that he saw in the mirror. So don't try to blanket say them, because it's not them. This was an individual, from all intents and purposes, to be an over 30 white male.
Right. So and so that brings forth even more the irony that the "don't tread on me" and all the anti-blackness that is reflected in some of these shows of solidarity and mourning is even more inappropriate than as if that could even be more inappropriate than it really is.
You get the anti-black and the anti-brown in that conversation, and it's not a black or brown person that's responsible for that officer losing his life.
Interesting point. I haven't heard any conversation about that anywhere else. That's how you know you're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'll second guest dinners with friends because they can be interrupted by diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or oily stools. It turns out I have EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, which means I'm missing the enzymes needed to digest food. My doctor prescribed Creon, pancrelipase, an oral prescription medication that replaces pancreatic digestive enzymes. Creon treats EPI due to cystic fibrosis, chronic pancreatitis, pancreatectomy, or other conditions.
Creon may increase your chance of fibrosing colonopathy, a rare bowel disorder. Tell your doctor if you have a history of intestinal blockage or scarring or thickening of your bowel wall, if you're allergic to pork, or if you have gout, kidney problems, or worsening of painful swollen joints. Call your doctor if you have any unusual or severe gastrointestinal symptoms or allergic reactions. Take Creon as directed by your doctor and always with food. Do not chew capsules, as this may cause mouth irritation. Other side effects may include blood sugar changes, gas, dizziness, sore throat, and cough. These are not all the side effects of Creon.
Creon is the #1 prescribed EPI treatment. Ask your doctor about Creon for EPI and visit creoninfo.com or call 800-633-9110 to learn more. That's CREON info.com.
Official
Officials and advocates across California are pouring resources into pointing out that racism and racial intolerance impact public health. Maisha Cairo here with your K-Black Minute News, brought to you by CaliforniaBlackMedia.org. The CDC director, Dr. Rochelle Walensky, called racism a public health danger. In the last 2 years, the cities of Coachella, Goleta, Long Beach, and Los Angeles, and counties such as Monterey, Riverside, Sacramento, San Diego, and Santa Barbara passed resolutions categorizing racism as public health distress. A 2021 report called Stop the Hate, focused on hate crimes in LA County, reported Black Californians are still most impacted by hate crimes, which are significantly underreported to law enforcement, adding that they violate human rights as defined by 177 nations around the world, according to the UN Universal Declaration on Human Rights. What are your thoughts on these stats? Let us know on all socials at KBLA 1580.
This Sunday and every Sunday is the African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market. Get free groceries, essential resources, and buy black from local merchants of arts, beauty, custom black merchandise, and more. Choose from a wide variety of cuisines, custom-made clothing, jewelry, and a lot more. Experience the true essence of Africatown at Lamert Park every Sunday from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Join the Drum Circle, dance, enjoy live performances, connect with other conscious black people. Experience black excellence every Sunday in Africatown at Lamert Park. You can find us on Degnan Boulevard near Vernon and Crenshaw in the heart of Africatown at Lamert Park. That's the African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market. Join us for music, shopping, food, and fun this and every Sunday. Support black businesses, recycle black dollars, and feed your soul. The African Marketplace and Drum Circle Community Market every Sunday in Africatown at Lamert Park. Brought to you by Africatown Enterprise and the African Village Vendors Association.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
Talking with Tim Kornegay. He is the director of Live Free California. He's got some .orgs for you, fosteringbelonging.org, empowerinitiatives.org, and Live Free.
With initiative, no S.
Oh, no S. Okay,
no
I'll put an S.
Empowerinitiative.org.
Okay, let's go to Alfred calling us from L.A. Alfred, you're on with Tim Kornegay and Dominique DiPrima. Good morning.
Thank you very much to the Queen of the Universe. And I want to allow me on, and I want to thank you and Sir Smiley for this wonderful program. And I want to thank this gentleman. Oh my God, he is wise. I was thinking about the same thing, similar thing this morning. I was crying for like an hour in my bed. I was thinking, what do we really understand? How many things we take for granted when we say love, or black, or white? What do we really understand? What are we really saying? And this gentleman came up and with your help, with so many of these answers. And I just really want to be a part of his organization. And I want to say, listen to him, listen to you, listen to Mr. Smiley. I am getting the courage that we can change all the things that we want to change. I'm getting the kind of mind to ask God or the universe to help me or help us to accept the things that we cannot change, to change the things that we can, and the courage to know the difference.
So it's funny, Alfred, is kind of taking us where we were during the break. We were talking about mental health and just overall health, because mental health and physical health are inseparable.
Well, Alfred, you sound like someone that's really tuned in to who you are. So what I would advise you to think about is, a lot of times we begin to think about, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? But the real question that we need to ask ourselves is, who do I need to become? What changes do I need to make? What things do I need to learn about me first? And for you, you have to know that the universe that you speak of and the God of your understanding has given you everything you need to make the changes that you want to see in the world that you live in. And love is critically important, because love is the first ingredient to a healthy mindset. Loving self and learning how to love others equally. And it's a challenge that we're facing now and the absence of like healthy thought processes, a healthy body is the through line through all the things that are taking place, like in this country, across the world, that we aren't healthy. We aren't psychologically healthy. We aren't physically healthy, and we need to get healthy, and we need to start loving each other.
How did you find a way to stay healthy, be healthy, self-love while incarcerated? I mean, to me, that seems like one of the most challenging things to do.
Well, I can do it in an abbreviated version, and not try to sound like a religious person, but the guy that my understanding came to visit me in prison and gave me an offer, and was like, if you'll do for me what you did for the other side, I'll look out for you. I'll make sure that you won't want or need anything as long as you're doing the right thing. And I've been in this version of physically being free, because I got free in prison after that conversation. But I've been this version of free for 7 years, going on 8, and I haven't wanted or needed anything since the day I stepped out of prison.
And you never wavered.
Never wavered. Still doing the work, still overcoming the frustration, still looking at it thinking that it's hard, still transporting challenges and the opportunities, still waking up every day feeling blessed, still knowing that I can impact the environments that I'm in a positive manner.
Talking with Tim Kornegay and you. We're taking your calls, 800-920-1580. Thank you, Alfred. It's KBLA Talk 1580.
We may be LA's newest talk station, but when you're punching above your weight, it's not about whether you can throw a punch. Can you take a punch? We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. And we don't black down.
At Cedars-Sinai, we're honored to be named the #1 hospital in California and the #2 hospital in the nation in U.S. News and World Report's Best Hospitals Honor Roll. We're also proud to be named #1 in 6 specialties in Los Angeles. Thank you to our physicians, nurses, academic leaders, and thousands of other team members who bring their best to Cedars-Sinai every day. Learn more about our top-ranked care at cedars-sinai.org.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Thinking about gas mileage? If your check engine light is on, it may be affecting your MPGs, but the free AutoZone Fix Finder service can help. With the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes, you'll know what's affecting your gas mileage and more, and you don't have to drive too far to find the fix. The free AutoZone Fix Finder service is available at all 6,200 stores.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
See details at AutoZone.com.
Find a righteous rage, and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, we are. And look, Ken is on the phone calling from L.A. Ken, you're on with Tim Kornegay and me, Dominique. What's up? Good morning.
Hi, good morning. How you doing?
Good, good. What's on your mind?
Listen to you guys. You know what? Your guest, he always has some insightful thoughts on whatever subject you guys are having. But, you know, when we talk about police violence, I'm curious. We're always trying to figure out a way. You always say, you know, what's wrong about what they're doing, you know, their hate for us or whatever, but why is it that, you know, violence against the police is never an option? I mean, we've been going through this for hundreds of years and have never they have never reduced their pursuit of violence against us. And I want to know, I mean, it just seems idiotic, it's never, we've never come up with an option and say, violence against them, like Malcolm said, we're not going to be violent, but we're not going to sit here and allow you to, kill us. But we never, it's like, is that?
Well, I don't know if you could say never. I remember a period of time where folks in Watts were shooting back. I'm not saying I recommend that, but I know it was happening for a while. You want to speak on?
Well, I what the gentleman is saying, that's a thought that many people probably process, but the question is, are you ready? Are you ready for the escalation of what they're already doing? Because what you're talking about is an occupying army that's trained to suppress, that's trained to do the things that they're doing, but are the subjects of that ready for the backlash that something like that should cause? Is what they're doing right? No way, no how. But what are the mechanisms we have to defend ourselves against that kind of behavior and put things in place that will protect us instead of waiting around for benefactors to feel for us and do the things that we can do for ourselves?
I mean, you're talking about a war, number one. Number two, there's a question of then do you become your oppressor, Ken, when you respond to violence with violence? I don't get me wrong. I believe in self-defense. I'm a big 2A girl, but you understand the question. Do you want to become just like the people that are ravaging our community?
Dominique, you know what? I understand what you're saying, and ultimately, really what I'm saying is, this is a fight for survival. And and I understand what Tim says. Obviously, man, we're not equipped to deal with what this system of government is willing to do to us, and we don't have the tools that they have. But at some point, I'm a human being, and you know what? You're killing me anyway. So really, what do I have to lose? And throughout history, people have always stood up. The indigenous Americans stood up. Yeah, they were ultimately put down. But my question is, we have never stood up and let these people know.
I don't think you can say that. If you go to our enslavement, there's so many slave rebellions. There's so many. Now, if you're talking about strictly the modern, supposedly post-slavery era, yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Ken, how about we consider this? Let's unify our voices. Let's use politics to get what we want, and let's pass legislation that says that these officers will be held personally responsible financially for harming another human being, and taxpayer money will not be expended paying off these lawsuits that they end up encountering. And I'll bet you that will decrease some of the violence that takes place.
I bet it would. When are you running for office?
I was just asked you that.
Yeah, Ken, I don't know if you want to stay with me. You're welcome to do so. I think, it's a really valid question with a lot of troubling answers. We got news, traffic, and sports. Tim, time flies when you're on the mic with me. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
With me.
Always an honor and a pleasure, and anytime, just give me a call, and I'm here.
Absolutely.
And thank you, listeners, for tuning in and making this one of the most popular shows in the country.
Yay. I do appreciate you. It's KBLA, Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Ray Harris, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Will the United States reach its debt ceiling today? That's the limit of money the government is allowed to borrow to meet its financial obligations. The debt ceiling currently stands at over $31 trillion, and Congress is considering raising that limit to keep the United States from defaulting on its debt. A statue of the Twitter bird from the company's San Francisco headquarters has been sold at auction. Trey Thomas has the details.
The 4-foot blue statue of the iconic bird sold for $100,000 at a Twitter auction that ended on Wednesday. The statue was one of hundreds of items from Twitter headquarters sold by Global Heritage Partners after new owner Elon Musk decided to cut costs at the social media company. I'm Trey Thomas.
That's the latest. I'm Ray Harris on the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Save big store-wide at the Truckload event at Lowe's, happening now. For a limited time, get up to 50% off select tools and accessories. Shop the event in-store or online today. Valid 12/29 through 1/25 while supplies last. Selection varies by location. See Lowe's.com for details.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers lose by 5 at home to Sacramento, 32 points for LeBron. Sacramento might be the NBA's most improved team. Their 25-18 record is 4th best in the Western Conference. Bad news for the Clippers as well. They fell below 500 for the second time this season after a 23-point loss at Utah. The Clippers are 2-9 in their last 11 games. The Rams fired 6 assistant coaches yesterday. Defensive coordinator Raheem Morris is still with the Rams. Morris has been interviewing for several head coaching jobs. Houston, Arizona, Indianapolis, Charlotte, and Denver are all looking for a new head coach. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. This sports report was brought to you by MVP Accident Attorneys. When it comes to your settlement, we're a slam dunk. Call 833-MVP-WINS or check their website at themvp.com for a free case review.
When you're the victim of a car accident, hiring the right law firm can be the difference between a rewarding settlement